Welcome to the SBI Podcast, offering CEOs, sales and marketing leaders ideas to make the number.
Welcome SBI Podcast listeners and video podcast viewers. My name is John Staples and I'm a partner at SBI, a sales and marketing consultancy dedicated to helping you make your number. With me today is one of SBI's principals, Mark Synek. What's up, Mark?
John, I'm excited about today's topic.
I am as well. The goal of our show is to help you make your number by speaking with sales and marketing experts on topics that include market research, corporate product, marketing, sales, and talent strategies. In today's show, we're very fortunate to have John Mansour, founder and managing partner at Proficientz, a training and consulting firm that specializes in B2B product management, product marketing, and sales enablement. John has more than 25 years experience in technology product management, product marketing, marketing communications, and sales in B2B organizations ranging from startups to Fortune 1000. Prior to those roles, John had extensive operations management experience in B2B software companies, healthcare administration, and retail distribution.
As the managing partner of Proficientz, John has worked with more than 2,000 organizations that span high technology, business services, telecom, healthcare, financial services, manufacturing, and many others. John served as the chairman for the Technology Association of Georgia's Product Management Society from 2006 through 2010, and he's been a regular keynote speaker at product management conferences and association meetings since 2001. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Proficientz. Proficientz offers a one-of-a-kind approach to training product management and product marketing professionals. Their B2B-specific approach teaches organizations how to manage, market, and sell products with the ultimate goal of delivering higher value, integrated solutions. Welcome to the show, John. Did we miss anything?
No, thank you, gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Fantastic.
Okay, today we are going to discuss three core areas of product strategy. Market segment definition, how companies should determine which market is most attractive for their solutions. Product portfolio, how to inventory the market problems your products uniquely address. And third, product roadmap, the plan for bringing products to market that solve problems. To do that, we're going to use a section of SBI's revenue growth methodology to guide our conversation. Specifically, phases 1, 2, and 3, pages 77 to 82. If you want to follow along at home, download a copy of our methodology at salesbenchmarkindex.com/2016-report. John, we specifically want to help our audience understand how these three phases help them with strategic alignment, with marketing, sales, and talent strategies. So let's get started. John, how would you recommend our audience think about defining a market for a product? An example may be industry, segment, geography.
Yes, and so the number one rule of thumb when defining market segments is refer to them as they refer to themselves, and that is typically by market segment. If you ask a company what they are, they're going to say we're a healthcare provider, we're a telecommunications company, we're a bank. So define them as they define themselves, and then, of course, geography is the second dimension, and then the third dimension is size, large, medium, small, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and those three dimensions generally cover market segmentation for the vast majority of companies out there.
Okay. Let's talk about basically how our audience should determine if a product is worth the investment. In other words, you could approach it from frequency of the problem, urgency of the problem, etc.
That's a great question, because one of the things that we try to help our clients with is to not see things through a product lens. So if we go back to market segmentation, we really try to help clients look at how much is it worth to address a specific problem in one or more market segments, right? So there are some common problems that span different segments. And it comes back to the question, how much is a solution to that problem worth, to the product developer or product provider? How much is that solution worth to us if we solve this problem in banking, in healthcare, in telecommunications, in retail? And so we tend to look at it more from an overall company or portfolio perspective, because when you think about how you solve problems that have strategic impact for your customers, it rarely comes down to a single product, and more often than not, it's a couple of products and or services bundled together that really give you the strategic impact and solve the problem to a greater extent. So we look at it more from how much can our company grow in specific market segments, and what are the biggest problems we can solve that have the greatest strategic impact to customers in those markets, and take it from there. And then that backs you into what products need the investment. So in other words, you're not trying to justify investments in a product, you're justifying the investment in solving a problem for a market, and that requires some level of investment in probably multiple products.
That's fantastic. Let me follow that up, if I can, with how should they go about determining the share of the market they can reasonably capture? I know that's always difficult.
It is very difficult. So depending on what product category you have and what markets you target, in a fair number of cases, there are analysts and research firms out there who tend to track that stuff, right? So they might say, a certain category of enterprise software, the market is saturated at X percent and it's growing at 3 or 4 or 5% a year or whatever. If you can get that information, then it's obviously valuable, and you can track to that to figure out what your own goals should be. Short of that, it becomes more of an educated guess. So find something that is similar to your product or service, see how that's growing or what the adoption rates are, and then build some assumptions in to say we should be able to grow faster or not as fast as that, and then align your strategy and your sales force and everything else around it.
My big takeaway from this segment has been something you said just a moment ago around solving strategic problems typically requires an investment in multiple products. So before our break, would you go a little bit deeper into that? I like the way you said it, but I'd like you to elaborate on the multiple products dimension.
Yes, and this is a pretty common dilemma we see in B2B companies. So most companies out there have a lot of products. And what's happening is every product owner, every product head is trying to figure out how to do a strategy for his or her product or products. And you end up with a whole bunch of silos that potentially spread the company thin and dilute the value by taking every product in a different direction. And so it comes back to how you view the customer. And so again, common dilemma is product people view customer through the lens of their product. That generally means users of my product. And we are encouraging companies to take a more holistic view of the customer, meaning start at the executive suite and see what's driving the company from the top down, and understand which activities and processes and workflows way down in the trenches have the biggest impact on the goals and strategies of the organization. And that'll tell you where to focus your products and which products are most important. And then that sort of elevates the discussion up a level to where you don't have product owners competing with one another for resources and marketing and sales mind share. And you guys are entrenched in the whole sales and marketing thing, and the downstream effect of trying to put together cohesive marketing messages and sales enablement programs that make it easy for salespeople. And the more fragmented products they have and messages, the harder that becomes for everybody.
Yeah, what I love about it is this concept of starting from the customer's point of view, and how often still we see companies that fail to start there. John, I'd like to take a short break and make our audience aware of one of SBI's offerings. We'll be right back with you.
Making your number is hard. Your problems are complex. Complex problems need complex solutions. Introducing the SBI Magazine. Read in-depth stories written by award-winning journalists about how your peers have overcome their problems to make the numbers. When you need more than a tweet, social post, or blog article, turn to the SBI Magazine. Go to salesbenchmarkindex.com to subscribe.
Welcome back. My name is John Staples, and I'm a partner at SBI, and I'm joined by my co-host, Mark Synek, a principal at SBI. Our guest today is John Mansour, founder and managing partner at Proficientz. Today we're discussing 3 core areas of product strategy. Number 1, market segment definition. Number 2, product portfolio. And number 3, product roadmap. We're using SBI's revenue growth methodology to guide our discussion, specifically pages 77 to 82.
Before the break, John shared with us his perspective on Phase 1, market definition. During this next segment, we're going to focus on the product portfolio and the alignment to the market problems in order to help you make your number.
John, can you explain to our audience, how should we determine which products to invest in, which should we maintain, and which we should end of life?
Thank you. That's a great question. So the easiest way to do that and the most objective way to do that is to map your products back to the customer organization. And if you do that, so in other words, if you were to just think about an org chart for one or more market segments that you target, and then plot your products to that org chart in terms of what parts of the organization those products are relevant to, which areas, activities, workflows those products are relevant to. And then the decision becomes much more straightforward, because then you start looking at to what extent do the activities my products support impact the goals of those customers, either at an operational or a strategic level. So you can think about, departmental metrics and key performance indicators and things like that, and you say, okay, to what extent does the activity that my product supports, or activities that my product supports, have a major impact on performance metrics and goals of that organization, either at the top or down at, department head level. And then you can start to figure out in pecking order, in terms of which products are worth most in terms of investment and which ones you should start sunsetting, because, as businesses change and as your customers change, activities that were once, a big driver in certain companies are sort of taking a back seat just because paradigm shifts and industry dynamics and all the things that change how businesses operate. So it always comes back to the customer. Map what you do to the customer's organization and figure out how important are the things that my product supports, how important are those activities, processes, workflows, how important are they to the customer in terms of helping the customer accomplish their goals, and then it becomes much more objective and straightforward as to whether you should invest, maintain, or retire.
Is just a follow-up on that. Is there anything that you would recommend specific to end of life? It seems like companies struggle with, stop doing things. It's easy to start doing more and more things around product development and product management, but how about recommendations for how clients should stop doing certain products?
I'm glad you asked that question, because when we talk to our clients and we talk about end-of-lifing products, the most common response is nothing ever dies here, it just lives forever.
Yeah.
So true.
So, the best strategy for end-of-lifing products, and it's always funny because once you announce you're going to end-of-life a product, for some reason salespeople feel compelled to go sell it, and you see sales spike for a short time. But the most methodical approach comes down to communication with customers. So communicate to your customers that, and give them enough advance warning. They all know what's coming. They're not going to like it anyway, but the more warning you give them to take a different path forward, the better it is. So give them some advance warning about, for the next year we won't enhance it, we will just support it, and for the year after that we'll take support calls, but we're not going to fix anything, and then in start of year 3 it's officially sunsetted, you're on your own. And so that really comes down more to communication in terms of customers in the market. The internal thing is just it's emotional. People don't want to let go of it. You have a lot of pride of ownership, or people who are emotionally attached to products, and that's the difficult part internally. Externally, just give customers fair warning, and everything will turn out okay. And give them an easy path forward. Don't leave them hanging.
Got it. Let's pivot a little bit, if we could, and talk about routes to market, and specifically, how should companies determine how each product should be sold? What are the considerations there?
The easiest thing to determine how a product should be sold is to not sell the product itself, but to use the product as a proof point. Sell the problem. If you think about, when you're out selling something, what resonates most with buyers, especially in the B2B world, is if you convince them that you understand their business and their issues and their challenges as well as they do, there's an assumption that that knowledge translates into a high quality or a superior product. So convince your buyers that you thoroughly understand their business dynamics and how that's creating challenges for them, that and you know all that. And then the product becomes a proof point to say, we understand you better than the competition, and the product is merely the proof point that demonstrates or exemplifies your knowledge of the problem or the issue.
It's quite a paradigm shift for some companies to actually think about using a product as a proof point instead of just thinking what's the lowest cost route to market, right?
Well, yeah, and it's interesting because I've had a few conversations lately with customers, one of them very challenged because there's a mentality in the company that, the cost plus, let's just add our margin on and that's what our price should be without considering the going rate for similar products or what the value is to the customer. So, value-based pricing is ideal if you have a good way to quantify what the value of a product is. But again, at some level, if you know the customer well enough, that should be a less difficult exercise. And, if it gets to the point where you're having a hard enough time quantifying it, I guess you have to ask yourself the question, what is it we're really trying to help customers accomplish with this product?
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's take another short break, if we could, and make the audience aware of one of SBI's other content offerings. John, we'll be right back with you.
You are watching SBI TV. This is a monthly web TV show featuring guests just like you, executives trying to grow their revenues. Each month, you can peek behind the scenes and watch your peers discuss their strategies for how they make their numbers. You are not going to want to miss this.
Welcome back. Mark and I are joined by our guest, John Mansour, founder and managing partner at Proficientz. We are using SBI's revenue growth methodology to guide our discussion, pages 77 to 82.
Before the break, John shared with us his perspective on Phase 2, the product portfolio, and how to determine which products to invest in and how each product should be sold, so routes to market. During this next segment, we're going to focus on aligning product investment with market demands in order to help you make your number.
All right, John, let's jump back in. John, how do we determine which market problems are the most attractive to address on our product roadmap?
Again, the easiest way to do is, which market problems are most valuable. Again, if you look, if you serve multiple industries, you can look at that same problem across industries and pretty well determine how big that problem is. Is it a major problem or is it a bigger problem in banks, or is it a bigger problem in hospitals, or is it a bigger problem in retail? And why is it or why isn't it, I guess, is probably the more important question. So again, looking at it by market segment and or geography, right, because some of these problems are exacerbated in different parts of the world. So if you look at it by market segment and geography to figure out, where the particular problem you're solving is causing the most pain to an organization, then it becomes pretty easy to figure out. Because again, if you go back to your market segmentation, you say, okay, well, there's X number of organizations in that market. It's only 20% penetrated. 80% is still out there to get, and it's growing at 10%. It's pretty easy to calculate what the size of the pie is going to be every year, and then you just have to figure out how to get more of that pie than your competition.
Yeah, it's interesting. It seems so logical, but what we see is clients that seem to skip this step. Do you find the same thing in your experience?
Oh, sure. You know how it goes in most companies. Somebody comes up with a great idea, you build a product, and it's like, let's take this thing to market and let's do it by storm. And the whole go-to-market strategy and the positioning is, we've done this, we've done that, we've innovated this, we've innovated that, without really articulating, who needs this, and more importantly, why do they need it, and what's it going to do? What's the impact on the overall business if you address this need?
Got it. So What's the process then for taking all that information you just discussed and outlined with us and utilizing it to maintain the product roadmap? So you've seen roadmaps that were set in stone to the detriment of the product management, and you've seen roadmaps that were shelfware. So I'm interested in how you iterate and basically maintain the product roadmap.
Again, it comes back to a real fundamental, simple concept. It's very hard for product companies because we all love our products, and it's hard for us to step out of that box. And so the best way to maintain a product roadmap and make it meaningful to anyone and everyone inside and outside the organization is to draw a very clear black and white line between the who, what, and why, and the how. So your products are how. Products are how you help somebody do something. Product roadmaps, portfolio roadmaps are all about who, what, and why, right? Who are our target customers for a particular solution? What are they trying to accomplish? Why are those goals important? What are their biggest obstacles? Why do those obstacles exist? And how are they dealing with them, or what are they doing to deal with them, right? So if you understand all of that, that's the content for your roadmap. The how part is, we're going to build these products or add features to these products to solve that problem. But a typical answer to, if someone comes up to you and says, hey, John, what's on your, strategic roadmap for next year? What's on your product roadmap for next year? Someone's going to give you a feature dump, right?
Right, absolutely.
And so features don't tell you anything, but if someone says, John, what's on your strategic roadmap for next year? And you say, one of the key initiatives on our strategic roadmap is to help healthcare organizations uncover and stop revenue leaks that they don't even know they have, by making sure charges are captured more accurately and billed consistently, then people go, okay, all right, I understand that. That's plain English.
So a lot of what you're saying there is when someone is asked about the product, the response is the who, what, and why rather than the feature dump, correct?
Exactly. The features are optional. If people want to know how you're going to solve that, then you can explain how the features work. But in most cases, when people want to know what's on the product roadmap or what's the direction, they're looking more for the who, what, and why, and not the how.
Got it. Okay.
That's interesting. I was sitting with a client early in the week, and they were trying to simplify the communication of their product portfolio so that the entire company could sing off the same sheet of music, so to speak. Do you find that quite a bit with your clients?
We do, and it's interesting because the ways they communicate that, they're not speaking in the language of the customer. They're not speaking in the who, what, and why language. In most cases, it's a we. These sentences start with we, and they become all about how you're doing what you're doing, as opposed to what customers want to do and why, and then supporting that with the how parts, which is where our products come in.
Got it. John, we're going to take one more short break to make the audience aware of an SBI offering. We'll return to you very shortly.
Each day, you receive hundreds of emails, tons of text messages, countless telephone calls, and sit in too many meetings. How do you find ideas to make the number with all this noise? The SBI blog filters all this nonsense for you and presents only first-rate ideas to make the number. Simplify your life. Subscribe to one blog and read the best content. Go to salesbenchmarkindex.com and subscribe today.
Welcome back, everyone. In our final segment, we're going to summarize the discussion and provide some action items for you to apply in your business today to help you make your number. John, let's put a bow on this. I would like to have you speak directly to the audience. What are the top 3 things you recommend our audience do immediately following this show to help them make their number?
Start spending more time with your customers, number one. Most organizations do not have dedicated roles or functions whose sole primary job is to spend time with customers at all levels of the organization to understand how the industry dynamics that they're in are shaping their strategies from the top all the way down to people doing the stuff in the trenches. So get to know those customers as well as they know themselves. That's priority one. That is the biggest, most critical ingredient to anything and everything you do as a company is get to know your customers as well as they know themselves. Number 2, socialize that information throughout your company, because if we all see our customers and our markets the same way, that means that we're all on the same page, and there's less risk of there being multiple agendas within a company. And so that speaks to your momentum, right? Because if the company's being pulled in multiple different directions, that kind of slows you down from a market standpoint. And the third thing then is, once you understand those customers and everyone has a view of that, sit back and understand what's most valuable to them first, and figure out how you can help them meet their growth and profitability goals in a way that is most conducive to your own revenue and profitability goals.
That was great.
And the rest is pure execution, right? It's build the products, make them usable, understand how to position, market, sell them, deliver them, make customers successful with them, support them, and all the things that you have to do to succeed in the market. But it all starts with knowing that customer and letting that drive everything you do.
We could probably talk for days on execution and the opportunities there. But what does all this mean to our audience? It means if your products are not aligned to the market, and if you're not internally aligned with marketing, sales, and talent strategies, you will likely miss your number.
If you want to make sure you get this right, get a copy of SBI's annual research report, which we used as our structure today. It's called How to Make Your Number in 2016. You can get it at www.salesbenchmarkindex.com/2016-report. And if you're interested in learning more about product strategy alignment, we'll have one of our experts lead you through a workshop which will detail how to do this. Again, go to www.salesbenchmarkindex.com to request a workshop.
John, thank you so much for sharing your perspective with our audience. We really appreciate it, and our audience benefited greatly from it. I also want to thank you, our audience, for tuning in. This show has become very popular, and with its popularity comes great guests like the one we had today. So thank you, and we wish you much success as you try to make your number.
This has been the SBI Podcast. For more information on SBI services, case studies, the SBI team and how we work, or to subscribe to our other offerings, please visit us at salesbenchmarkindex.com.